Gluten-free options are popping up everywhere these days, in cafes, restaurants, and supermarkets. It seems like everyone is going gluten-free, even if they don't have celiac disease or a gluten sensitivity. But are these gluten-free options actually good for you? Is ditching gluten the secret to feeling your best? And if so, what's the best way to go about it? In this video, we'll dig into the world of gluten and find out if going gluten-free is really all it's cracked up to be, how some popular versions of gluten-free can be extremely dangerous, and scientifically backed tips to make smart choices for your body. Plus, we'll show you how to get some free resources to help get your gut health under control and keep your blood sugar in a healthy range. First things first, what exactly is gluten? It's the magic ingredient that gives bread its delightfully chewy texture and helps it to rise to fluffy perfection. Gluten is everywhere, not just in the obvious places like bread and pasta, but also hiding out in things like soy sauce, salad dressings, and even some medications. So what's the big deal? Why is it causing problems for so many people? Well, for starters, gluten can be tough to digest. At the most extreme, celiac disease affects approximately 1% of the population. When people with celiac disease consume gluten, their immune system responds by attacking the lining of the small intestine, leading to serious gastrointestinal symptoms such as diarrhea, bloating, and abdominal pain. If left undiagnosed, it can eventually cause long-term problems like anemia, osteoporosis, and neurological problems. Beyond celiac disease, gluten sensitivity can be considered a spectrum, with an estimated 13% of the population experiencing some level of noticeable reaction to gluten. Most commonly, these are things like bloating, fatigue, brain fog, and joint pain. But whether it's noticeable or not, gluten and gluten-containing foods tend to trigger some level of inflammation in most people. That's because our bodies simply aren't great at breaking it down and absorbing it properly. When gluten doesn't get fully digested, it can lead to something called leaky gut syndrome. Basically, your intestinal lining becomes more permeable, which means partially digested bits of foods, toxins, and bacteria can leak into your bloodstream. It's been tied to things like depression, schizophrenia, epilepsy, migraines, and ADHD. For some folks, cutting out gluten can be a total game changer. We're talking dozens or even hundreds of different symptoms that can improve or disappear altogether. It's pretty mind-blowing what can happen when you kick gluten to the curb. But here's the million-dollar question. Does this mean it's best to go gluten-free? Well, not so fast. While cutting gluten can definitely be a good move for some people, a lot of gluten-free products have their own set of issues. Let's say you go gluten-free for a month. How do you approach it? Do you simply stop eating bread, cookies, and pasta altogether? Some people do, and it can be a life changer. But what about your favorite meals? What do you do when the cravings kick in? After all, these foods are addictive. They're literally triggering our hunger hormones and making our brains crave them more and more. If you're used to eating them every day, stopping suddenly can lead to withdrawal symptoms like moodiness, depression, and even headaches. Alternatively, you head to the grocery store and what do you find? A world of gluten-free goodies waiting for you. Maybe they don't taste quite as good, but you can still enjoy your pizza and your cookies. It seems like gluten-free living has never been easier, right? Before you start loading your cart with all of these gluten-free goodies, there's something you need to know. A lot of those products aren't nearly as healthy as the marketing world would suggest. In fact, many gluten-free products are highly processed, loaded with carbs and other nasty replacements, and seriously lacking in fiber and nutrients. Here's the deal. When manufacturers take gluten out of a product, they have to add other things in to make it taste good and have a decent texture. That means extra sugar, fat, starch, rice, corn, soy, and nasty emulsifiers. So when you might be avoiding gluten, you could be loading up on other stuff that's potentially even worse. In fact, a number of studies have found that people eating gluten-free tend to have higher levels of heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, cadmium, and lead. Furthermore, they're statistically more likely to be deficient in essential nutrients, especially folate, iron, niacin, riboflavin, thiamine, B12, zinc, and selenium. All of this is a recipe for serious health problems and disease. Why? Firstly, gluten-free diets tend to rely heavily on rice-based products as a substitute for wheat, barley, and rye. The problem is, rice accumulates significantly more heavy metals from the environment compared to other crops. For example, it absorbs arsenic from contaminated soil and water, leading to higher levels on those rice-based gluten-free foods that you're eating. Not only that, but your body actually absorbs and retains more arsenic and other heavy metals from rice compared to other grains. So if you're eating rice-based foods multiple times a day on your gluten-free diet, your overall intake and absorption of these toxic metals is going to be exponentially higher than the average person. On top of that, gluten-free diets are often deficient in key nutrients like calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc, and B12. These deficiencies can impair your body's natural detox process, making it harder to eliminate heavy metals. For example, if you're low in zinc, your body has a tougher time making metallothioneins, special proteins that help detox heavy metals. It's a strange situation where rice-based foods are promoted as a daily staple health food, but in the context of gluten-free, may actually expose your body to 3 additional risk factors. Next, let's talk about the industrial seed oils that are so common in gluten-free processed foods. Things like corn, soybean, and sunflower oil are all high in inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids. When your ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is out of balance, it triggers inflammation throughout your body. Considering that inflammation is at the root of nearly every chronic disease we face today, from obesity and diabetes to autoimmune conditions and heart disease, it's a big deal. Plus, as we've discussed on our other videos, many of these cheap polyunsaturated oils can easily go rancid, which is going to oxidize LDL cholesterol and in turn damage artery walls, increasing the risk for atherosclerosis heart disease. Next, soy is often touted as a health food and a common substitute for gluten-containing ingredients. And while some soy can be good for you, especially things like organic natto, miso, and tempeh, the type hidden in gluten-free foods tends to be cheap and nasty. Eat low-quality soy every day, and it can cause a host of issues, especially for those with already compromised gut health. One of the biggest concerns with soy is its effect on your hormones. Soy contains compounds called phytoestrogens, which mimic the effects of estrogen in your body. These phytoestrogens disrupt hormonal balance and have been linked to an increased risk of certain cancers, particularly breast cancer, as well as fertility issues. Soy can also wreak havoc on thyroid function. Your thyroid gland is responsible for producing hormones that regulate your metabolism, energy levels, and many other crucial functions in your body. Soy contains substances called goitrogens, which can interfere with the production of thyroid hormones. When your thyroid hormone levels are suppressed, it can lead to a condition called hypothyroidism, causing fatigue, weight gain, dry skin and hair, constipation, depression, and memory problems. Hypothyroidism can also reduce the body's sensitivity to insulin, making it harder for glucose to enter cells, which can raise blood sugar levels and ultimately lead to type 2 diabetes. So if your gluten-free foods contain soy, you might want to think twice. At least don't make them a daily food. Are you finding this information useful? If so, please click the like button. It really helps us to make more videos like this. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. Next up, corn is extensively used in the form of cornstarch, corn flour, cornmeal, and corn syrup. These ingredients are prevalent in gluten-free baking mixes, snacks, cereals, and processed foods. Corn is often genetically modified and can contribute to a high glycemic index, causing rapid blood sugar spikes. Additionally, corn contains zein, a protein which can cause digestive issues for some people. Plus, of course, commercial corn, grown for food corporations producing starches, etc., tends to be saturated in chemical, pesticides, and herbicides, which can have serious consequences over time. Finally, gluten-free eating tends to overdo it with sugar, which is all around bad news. Many gluten-free products are loaded with sugar to improve taste and texture. Essentially, they need to compensate for the dopamine hit we usually get from gluten-based foods. Likewise, all the starches used to replace wheat flour, the tapioca starch, potato starch, cornstarch, and sorghum, are going to act very much like sugar in our bodies. The moment they hit your stomach, your digestive system quickly breaks them down into glucose, causing your blood sugar to spike. In fact, many gluten-free options are worse than their normal counterparts. So, is gluten-free better? The answer is, it depends. For some people, cutting out gluten can be a total game changer for their health. It can improve digestion, clear up skin issues, boost mood and energy, and even help with more serious conditions. But the key is to do it the right way. Don't just swap your regular processed foods for gluten-free processed foods. Focus on whole, unprocessed foods that are naturally gluten-free. The truth is that commercially produced breads, muffins, and cakes are a nightmare for our bodies. Junk food is still junk, whether it's gluten-free or not. If you love these foods, then a little strategy will go a long way. If you're going to eat them, make them at home so that you know what's going into your body. Alternative breads made from pumpkin and non-grain flours can be a far healthier choice all around. Likewise, rice alternatives can help to eliminate stomach problems and improve blood sugar control while delivering the nutrients your body needs. For more on those, get our free book, Amazing Alternatives to Rice, Pasta, and Bread, which contains over 50 delicious recipes. It's completely free and it's ready to download now. We'll leave a link to that in the description, or visit us at diabeticstalk.com. If you are going to buy commercially produced foods, become a label detective and choose your gluten-free products extremely wisely. Pay special attention to those foods that you eat every day, like what you eat for breakfast. And most importantly, listen to your body. Tune in to how you feel when you eat certain foods and let that guide your choices. And if you want to really get your gut health and blood sugar under control, you might like to watch our video on 7 of the best probiotic-rich foods you can eat. We'll leave a link to that in the description box below, or click the image on your screen.